Finding the distance between 2 points. Well, if those points happen to be straight across from each other, like say the point 8, 1 and 4, 1, that'd be really easy to tell how long that line is. You would just count 4 spaces over to get from 4, 1 to 8, 1, so the length is 4 units. Same if it was straight down, say it was 4, -5, and we wanted to find the distance between 4, 1 and 4, -5. We would say how many spaces down do we go from 1 to -5? We go down 6 spaces, so that would be a distance of 6. Alright, so if your line is straight, whether it be straight across or straight up and down, it's easy to tell how long it is. But when it's diagonal, now it becomes a little more difficult. You can't take a piece of graph paper and just count diagonally how far it is from that point to the other one. So what you have to do is use Pythagorean theorem. You have to turn this into a triangle when the points are diagonal from each other, and you're connect those points. That's the line you're trying to figure out. You're trying to figure out how long is that line. Well, that's going to end up being your hypotenuse of your right triangle. We're going to draw a right triangle here, and you're always looking for the hypotenuse. So technically this is a little bit easier than what you've been doing, because step 2 on what you've been doing the last couple of days was you had to decide, were you going to add or subtract? Were you looking for a diagonal side, the hypotenuse, or were you looking for a leg? Well, here it's going to be the hypotenuse every time. They're all diagonal from each other. So you're always going to add. So you're going to draw on your right triangle here, and you're going to square those 2 straight sides, the 2 legs. You're going to add them together, and then you're going to take the square root, and that's how long it is between these 2 points. So we just have to figure out what are the legs of this triangle, what are the 2 straight sides, and it's kind of like figuring out slope. You're just counting how far over and how far up and down to get from one point to the next. So let's go straight across first. How far is it to get from 4, 1 all the way over so that you're right below 7, 5? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to get, I'm sorry, 3 spaces, my bad. 3 spaces to get from 4 over to 7. Remember, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I put the little tick marks in there, maybe it's easier to see. 4, 1 is right there, and we went over 3 spaces to get directly below 7. From 4 to 7 is 3. And then how far up do you go? That's your y coordinates. How far up from 1 to 5? 4 spaces. So there's your right triangle. Straight across and then straight up makes a 90-degree angle. Now you have Pythagorean theorem. You square those 2 numbers, 9 and 16. 3 squared plus 4 squared, that's 9 and 16. Add them together, you get 25. The length of that side is not 25, it's the square root of 25. Remember step 3, unsquare. Take the square root of that number, and you get 5. So the distance between those 2 points is 5. So the distance between points, when you do your reading in the warm-up, it's going to give you this crazy formula. And this is all the formula is saying. The formula is how do you get 4 and 3. You take, this would be, say, your y2 and your x2, your y1 and your x1, so xy coordinates, and you've got 2 points, so they call one of them point 1 and one point 2. So I'll call this point 1, x1 and x2 coordinate. This will be my second point, x2 and y2 coordinate. So the formula says subtract your y's and subtract your x's. So you do y2 minus y1, which is 5 minus 1, which is 4. And then you do x2 minus x1, which is 7 minus 4, which is 3. So that's all the formula is showing you how to get 4 and how to get 3. But you could just use graph paper, just look at it and count, and you can get it the same way. And then once you have that, then the formula says square those things. So you had to do y2 minus y1, and then you had to square it, and you had to add it to x2 minus x1, and you had to square that. And that's how you come up with 9 and 16. So y2 minus y1 gave you 4. You square it, it gave you 16. and then you add them together, and that gives you 25, and then to get 5, you take the square root of the whole thing, the square root of 25. So this is the distance formula, but if I just start off teaching you the distance formula, it's a lot harder to visualize and to make sense what it actually means. If you just think about it as Pythagorean theorem, that the side you're looking for is the hypotenuse, so you have to count over and up, I think it's a little bit easier to visualize what you're doing. But if you love formulas and you just want to start plugging numbers into that and solve it that way, that's fine. It'll give you the same answer. This just might be a little bit easier to visualize.